Before we get into today's video, I just wanted to thank everyone who showed their support for my last video covering Invincible. Trying out something new for the channel has clearly paid off, after being so on the fence with making non-gaming videos for quite a long time. So here's to many more. Hey, how's it going everybody? I hope you're all good. My name is Peter Gargan, and for this video, we'll be stepping back into the world of Invincible to talk about quite possibly my favourite character in the show. And I'm certain I'm not alone in that sentiment. That's right, I'll be exploring the one and only Nolan Grayson, aka Omni-Man, and breaking down why he is more than just an answer to the question of what if Superman was evil. Without further ado, let's get into it. Nolan Grayson, voiced by J.K. Simmons, is the father of the show's protagonist Mark Grayson, and is considered the strongest superhero on Earth as Omni-Man, assisting the Guardians of the Globe in their endeavours while never really joining them as an official member. In the first episode, we are informed that the reason he is so powerful is because he is an alien from the planet Viltrum, which he claims to be a benevolent empire of superpowered beings with advanced technology and resources who have made it their mission to assist less developed planets across the galaxy with those aforementioned resources to ensure their long-term prosperity, and that Earth was his designated planet to protect and improve. It all sounds noble and good, right? Having essentially a super strong hero on your side, generously providing your planet with the means to evolve as a society, sounds ideal on paper. But by the end of the first episode, we are led to question whether Nolan is being truthful of his true intentions. This is because, spoiler alert, he single-handedly murders the Guardians of the Globe seemingly out of nowhere, and we are left to question why he would do such a thing to these heroes he helped out since arriving on Earth. The rest of the first season explores various characters investigating his true intentions, and we also get to see glimpses of Omni-Man's villainy sprinkled throughout, including unloading his true power in retaliation to the Flaxons' repeated invasion attempts. The line, "Earth isn't yours to conquer," being an early foreshadowing to Nolan's goals. Another reason I like this particular moment is because it allows Nolan to continue to be seen as the hero to the unknowing public and superhero community, as the Flaxons themselves showed no signs of backing down with each of their previously thwarted attempts at conquest earlier in the episode. So, saving the people of Earth on this occasion continues to benefit his own interests, allowing him to prolong the truth being discovered for just a little bit longer. We also see examples of Nolan's manipulation tactics under the disguise of giving well-meaning fatherly advice, such as dismissing high-running emotions in the aftermath of the Guardian's funeral, as well as trying to convince Mark and Debbie that the former is above helping other people such as Titan in their personal struggles when there are planetary-scale threats at hand. The last two episodes of Season 1, however, is where the truth becomes apparent. After killing a recently revived Immortal for the second time, with Mark and the general public serving as witnesses on this occasion, Nolan is left with no choice but to come clean about the true nature of the Viltrum Empire, in which they intend to conquer other planets, resorting to forceful attacks if compliance is refused, believing that only the strongest of the strong deserve to survive. Nolan also tries to convince Mark to join the cause by telling him how his Viltrumite DNA means he will live for potentially thousands of years, outliving not just the people he loves, but Earth itself. Naturally, because of Mark's humanity that he got from having Debbie as his other parent, an epic battle commences due to the father and son's clash in ideals, with Nolan going so far as to drag thousands of innocent civilians into the conflict, trying to get his point across to Mark that they are like insects in comparison to their power, which would later be ironic in Season 2, but we'll get to that in a bit. The destruction Nolan causes in this episode is immeasurable, and definitely the most shocking event in the series so far, especially the train scene. Eventually, Nolan is wailing on Mark ready to kill his own son, only to get a flashback of him watching a baseball game that Mark is playing in as a kid. In this sequence, Debbie teaches Nolan that the small joys of life are what makes it fulfilling, encouraging him to cheer Mark on as he wins. It's at this moment Nolan can't bring himself to end his own offspring, and tries to appeal to the Viltrum cause one last time, asking Mark what he will still have when everyone else is gone. Cue the armor-piercing response.
Dad, I still have you.
This line is what hits Nolan deeper than any of the physical blows he has dealt during their battle. Despite all of the terrible things he has done, Mark still sees a loving father underneath it all, the one who came to Earth with a mission to take over, but has since become conflicted after being presented with the love and compassion that humanity is capable of offering. But it's at this point where the damage has already been done. Nolan can't go back on the mass destruction he has already caused, leaving him no choice but to flee, with no turning back. This is revealed to be the first occasion in centuries that a Viltrumite has deserted their designated planet, meaning he has also become a wanted fugitive by his own people, leaving him with nobody to turn to as he drifts through space, contemplating who he even is anymore, and where his values align. It's only when Nolan finds a spacecraft with some insectoid Thraxans about to fall victim to a black hole that he performs an act of heroism entirely on his own terms, showing that his time on Earth has indeed taught him a sense of compassion, as he flies them to safety on their home planet. But even then, the look of despair on his face indicates that he knows full well that just one act of kindness is nowhere near enough to atone for what he did on Earth, so he attempts to fly away and leave the Thraxans behind, only to be stopped and offered to stay in return for saving their lives. Honestly, the space sequence in general is by far one of my favourite moments in the show. No dialogue is required to convey the heavy conflict and emotions that Nolan is going through. All at the same time, he's grappling with immense guilt over what he did on Earth, combined with questioning his sense of purpose now that the Viltrum Empire will be in hot pursuit for turning his back on them. All of his life, he was indoctrinated into a belief that the strong must rule over the weak, but the comparably minuscule portion of his life spent somewhere else that values love and humanity was enough to make him reevaluate whether he was doing the right thing. Upon luring Mark to Thraxa, Nolan reveals he has a second child with a Thraxan woman named Andressa, who Debbie later names Oliver, but he is in danger due to the Viltrumites hunting for Nolan after abandoning his post on Earth. It's here where he persuades Mark to help him fend them off, and despite Mark's reluctance after all the lies and betrayal Nolan has put him through, he is left with no choice due to Oliver and the innocent Thraxans being caught up in it at all. After another brutal fight unfolds, Nolan is left injured when a previously thought to be killed Lucan annihilates his back out of nowhere, allowing Mr. General Krieg, to take Nolan in as his prisoner, slated for execution as punishment for treason against the Empire. We see in this fight that Nolan has developed more protective instincts over those who are physically weaker, or, in Mark's case, reluctant to kill under self-defense circumstances, showing that the love he has for his son is genuine after all, especially when he tries to reassure Mark that it's over before Lucan's final strike. Later on, we see Krieg's attempted interrogation of Nolan, who refuses to say anything when questioned how his short time on Earth changed him into what he describes as a weak, sentimental traitor, remarking that the people of Earth must have some kind of toxic, contagious effect if they manage to turn one of Viltrum's most loyal soldiers into someone who has developed a sense of empathy for species perceived as inferior. The last we see of Nolan is in the mid-credits ending of the Season 2 finale, where Alan the alien intentionally gets himself captured to find and recruit Nolan to the Coalition of Planets cause to put a stop to the Viltrum threats once and for all. However, Nolan is in a defeatist state, believing he's not worthy of being considered a Viltrumite, and that he deserves his execution as penance for all the pain he has caused on Earth. Alan, who has no time for the self-pity, tries to appeal to Nolan's newly developed empathy, ensuring him that he has a chance to put things right by helping him, Mark, and the Coalition in stopping the Empire from causing similar levels of suffering on other planets. Although we end the season with Nolan still unconvinced, he does admit that he misses Debbie amidst all the regret. This leaves us, or those who haven't read the comics, with the looming question: will Omni-Man redeem himself? And while I myself haven't read past the first compendium of the comics, which pretty much ended at this moment funnily enough, it makes me hopeful that we'll see Nolan change his mind and befriend Alan. After all, his last words to Mark led to his son discovering the commercially unsuccessful science fiction novels he wrote under his civilian identity on Earth, before switching to being a travel author, which Alan confirms are pretty much disguised documentations of weapons and species from across the galaxy that could serve as threats to the Empire. This shows that Nolan does in fact have a deep desire to put a stop to the Viltrumites' tyranny, because while it's possible he had no intention of the books to be taken seriously by the unsuspecting Earth population, who most likely dismissed them as purely fictional works, he sees that they now have a practical use despite seeing himself being executed before Mark and Alan even seek out the weaknesses depicted within them, meaning he will be helping them beyond the grave if his execution ends up being, well, executed. And while I'm trying my best to avoid possible spoilers for Season 3, my prediction is that we will see Nolan eventually warm up to the idea of putting his trust in Alan to escape prison and discover a new purpose to fight for, being the liberation of planets under threat by the Viltrum Empire. And while it's possible that he may never truly be forgiven by Debbie or the rest of Earth for the damage he has already done, I imagine the overarching moral of his journey will be all about fighting for the sake of doing the right thing, even if it means not everyone will accept him back. Perhaps this will be a realization that he doesn't actually need to win back the approval of those he has hurt, and that as long as he learns to move forward in spite of this, then maybe this could serve as a story of redemption that gives Zuko from Avatar a run for his money, a character who is often considered to have one of the all-time greatest redemption arcs in the history of fictional media. While Nolan may not be truly forgiven, he can at the very least use the rest of his life to prevent other Viltrumites from causing the same pain he's already done, and to play a huge role in ending the cycle of violence as one of the only Viltrumites to rebel against their ways, being a key factor in bringing a new era of peace in the galaxy. And that's why I'm personally rooting for his redemption. I feel like he's the kind of character that people who feel guilty over their mistakes could relate to, and learn something from. Because, well, hopefully, none of us have done anything on Nolan's level. I'm sure we can relate to that feeling of making mistakes that have caused others to hurt, and being consumed by the immense guilt that follows. However, I think a big part of why Omni-Man has become such a fan favourite with Invincible fans doesn't just come down to his iconic quotes, or J.K. Simmons' excellent performance, but also to that sign of hope that even the worst of monsters can find a way to learn from their mistakes, to make sure they never inflict that kind of pain on anyone else ever again, and to fight to ultimately become a net force for good, even if they can't take back the past. And I think this is what helps make him such a compelling character, and why he is more than just another take on the evil Superman trope. Anyway, that just about does it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of Omni-Man as a character. Are you rooting for his redemption, or do you think it's too late? Feel free to share. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more coverage on the world of Invincible or other topics in entertainment that I find interesting. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see you later.